Hi guys, it's Danielle here. As I promised, I would share a bit more of my eating disorder story. This time I'm going back to the first 18 years of my life. It's quite a lot to put in one video, but I'm going to do it quite quick and not so much detail and just take some bits out. I'm not going to mention my family too much because I want to respect their dignity. Also, a lot has changed from the past. I am a totally different person and there's things that I've done that they were just not wise decisions and not something that you should follow or try to imitate yourself, because there's consequences that I had to just deal with in the future now. There's some things I still have to work through because of some things that are things that happened in the past. But the majority of my past is done and dealt with, and I kind of moved on from that, and so here it goes.
I was brought up in a family of 6 and I was the surprise child and the youngest by 8 years. Since before I was born, my mom would bring in men who struggled with alcohol abuse and they would live with us. So mom would spend most of her time looking after them. I was an extremely quiet child. Maybe this is because I was abused. Or it could have just been my personality. In primary school I had no friends and I barely spoke at all. The only people who gave me attention were these 2 girls who would sometimes lock me in the cloakroom and sometimes beat me up. But in my next primary school I actually made some friends, but I was still getting bullied. This time by a group of guys who would call me a tramp and make fun of me because my parents were unemployed at the time. And every day after school they'll throw stones at me the whole way home. I told my mom a few times about it, but she didn't say anything, so I just kind of sucked it up. At age 8 I was abused again, and then after that I developed an autoimmune disease which is incurable. It's called psoriasis. This made me really hate my body and always want to hide it. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. We did go on some good holidays about once a year, and I also had a best friend at the time and we did absolutely everything together. We would hang out and just go on adventures and build huts, and it was just so much fun. And when I wasn't with my best friend, I would always be thinking about this perfect girl who lives in this perfect world, had many friends. I knew I wasn't like this girl, but I wanted to be like her, so I draw many pictures of her, and I think it was just my way of escaping. When I was age 10, my mum got a job in a guest house, so my dad moved out with her, and my brother, he had already moved out by this point, and my sisters were either studying or socializing, so I didn't see them. So I spent most of my time alone, but my best friend lived close by, so it was fine. So I just spent more time at her house. We'd go on chat rooms, video games, watch horror movies, and I just had a really good time with her. I then went to secondary school, and apparently being ginger, tall, skinny and pale is very ugly to people, so I'll get bullied a lot for my appearance. But this time it was mostly verbal and not as physical. Throughout the whole 7 years in secondary school I would never have breakfast or lunch. I think this is because I had a lot of anxiety and I just had no appetite, not because of an eating disorder. At age 13 I got my new best friend in school. She was really cool and we liked the same music. One weekend she invited me over for a sleepover and her uncle was looking after us because her dad was away. Unfortunately, when I was really sleepy and going to bed, he took advantage of me. I told my friend about it, but neither of us really knew how to respond. Soon more people found out and other people would try to sleep with me. I was becoming more and more impulsive, and at age 15 I was going on chat rooms and actually pursuing men. This was extremely stupid of me and very dangerous because I put myself in very risky situations, and on 2 occasions I could not escape and I was abused and raped. I started to hate visiting my mom at the guest house because there was a lot of abuse going on there, and that really hurt me that my own family were going through a lot of pain as well. In school I had gained a lot more friends, not because they liked me, just because I was more into drinking and smoking, etc. But by this stage, I was failing exams and getting into detention, and teachers really hated me. I had become a really dark, numb person inside, and I had no emotion or any feelings. At age 17, I was invited to a Christian festival. I don't really know why I went, but I think I'd met some pretty cool Christians over the years, so that kind of inspired me to go. And there I met this guy. He was so attractive. He wasn't physically attractive, but He is full of so much joy and peace. He really treated me like no other guy had ever spoken to me at this point. He made me feel like I had a lot of worth and value, and I was very intrigued to get to know him. But 2 weeks later, he was killed in a motorbike accident. For the first time, I cried in years. I then started to go out with a Christian guy for 1 year. He was good looking, popular, perfect, and very successful, which made me very envious of him. He didn't know anything about my past, so I put on this mask that I was a good girl and I am perfect. So I started going to church and serving there and joining workshops and dance classes and doing more drama, and I started doing really well in school, like getting A's and making sure I got 100% in all my coursework. I just wanted to be perfect. But I wasn't perfect enough for him, and for the first time in my life I was dumped. But it was okay because I was holding a mask the whole time and I was just empty inside. During that year, my grandfather had also died, which made me question more about why was he such a loving, humble person. I didn't really know who God was at the time, but it was the beginning of a journey. That year of being 18 was the best year of my life. I started to build up a relationship with my teachers and gain real friends who liked me for who I was. I started to laugh and enjoy life again and had the opportunity to work in a video production company in England. The more my life became better, the more guilty I felt inside because I really want my family to be together and for them to be happy. Since I was really small, I've always been either underweight or slim, so I knew I didn't need to lose weight. One thing I didn't mention is that there were all these spoken and unspoken rules that either I picked up from people saying or I just subconsciously picked up over the years. These things then ingrained into my life, but I do not blame anyone for me developing an eating disorder later in life. Some of these rules that I picked up were that I must only eat healthy food, no junk food, I must suck up any emotion, I must not complain, I must be positive, never ever feel sorry for yourself, don't spend money unless you have no other choice, I must be strong, I must be independent, I must never be a burden, I must never hassle anyone, I should be nice to everyone, I should judge nobody, I must always forgive or always take the blame, I only deserve the cheapest, lowest quality food and clothes, I must not treat myself, I can only treat others. Some of these values aren't inherently wrong, but I just took them to extreme measures where I neglected my physical body. This is when my eating disorder started to kick off.
As you can see, a lot of things can contribute to someone having an eating disorder. It's usually not just one thing. Regarding anyone who has hurt me, I forgive all of them and I don't hold any resentment or bitterness towards them. I believe in love and grace and forgiving people, even if they've done the worst of things. And I don't approve of anything that people do that is manipulative or hurtful or abusive. I don't agree with any of that, but I just choose to forgive like I have been forgiven in my life, and yeah, that's kind of it. And also it frees me from being bitter as well. So I'll probably share more of my story, which would be the last 3-4 years of my life that I haven't already shared.